Claude just built this email calendar, wrote the copy, did the design, and pulled a full Klaviyo performance report without me barely having to leave the chat. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Before we get into it, if you do want the prompts used throughout this video, click the link down below in the description and I'll send it straight to your inbox. So now let's dive in. So the first thing that we want to do here is build a campaign calendar for the brand. That's the starting point really. And of course, we need a brand to build a calendar for. So in this example, we're going to pick Represent, pretty solid brand. So I'm just going to go over to their website, pull their URL. I'll basically talk into Claude using Whisperflow. Absolutely fantastic platform, by the way. I'm not an affiliate, but definitely recommend checking out Whisperflow to actually dictate properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to prompt this to build that campaign calendar and we'll look at the output. I want you to act as an expert email marketing strategist for 9-figure brands. You are tasked with creating a campaign calendar for Represent. I want this calendar to have 20 campaigns in it, and I want you to mix up the segmentation strategy between buyers, non-buyers, and win-back opportunities. The majority of these emails will be graphic based, so just bear that in mind. And also please give detailed briefs for each campaign that you include in the calendar. Brand link. Okay, so now that we have the prompt, we're just going to let it do its thing. Okay, so now it's came back with the calendar output, and to be honest, it actually looks pretty good. Now, the beauty of this as well is you can actually push these campaigns into your project management tool. So if you're using Asana or Notion, for example, if you set up the connector, you can actually allow that to pass through and even assign out people on your team to do certain tasks. Now, that's pretty solid, so I definitely recommend checking that out. Now, looking at the calendar, it's pretty decent. We have 20 campaigns ready to go with campaign briefs and design notes. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to pick a campaign to start actually building. So what we're going to do is I'd like to pick something that is like product related. So what we can do is we'll do new arrivals, the weekly drop. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick this one and we're going to prompt it to actually build the copy for that. Taking campaign number 1, I want you to build the copy for this email, bearing in mind that this is going to be a graphic-based email. Please make sure that you're using the exact tone of language and brand voice that Represents uses across their website. Okay, so now we have the prompt in here to actually take the first campaign and actually build copy for it, so we're going to let it do its thing again. Okay, so now it's come back with the copy, and to be honest, it's actually pretty good. And you can see here it's giving the the design instructions, product grid, editorial call out. It's pretty solid. So what you can actually do here as well is actually ask it for the links to the products to include here. It will kind of make your life a little bit easier rather than having to go to the website and go and find them. That's just being super lazy, but at the end of the day, Claude is there to do it, so you might as well ask it. To make life easier, would you be able to include the URLs to each product that should be featured in this email? This is going to be super important when we move on to the design part of this campaign. Okay, so now it's come back with the exact URLs that we should use, which makes our life so much easier. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to push onto the design part of this process. Now, one thing that's important to note when you're designing emails with Claude is I would strongly suggest just taking the images from the website or wherever you have them yourself and actually just putting them into the chat. It's going to be much easier for the images to actually render on the design once it's ready. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the images for Claude, then we'll actually build the prompt to actually move on to the design part. Okay, so what I've done is just in about a minute, I've taken all of the images that the email wants to push. And then essentially I took 2 examples of previous emails that Represent have sent using milled.com to just find those emails. So it's pretty solid. Also, I've just given it the logo just so it can render the correct logo there. And now it's time to actually prompt. Taking the email copy for this email design that you've generated, please create a full HTML email design following email marketing best practices. I've included all of the images of the products which you've included. Please include these images in the HTML template and make sure that they are rendering perfectly. I've also included the logo so you can include this in the header. And I've also included 2 example email designs that you can check out. So we make sure that the email we create follows the exact typography, design style and brand style that Represent has both on their website and on their emails. So now we have the prompt ready to go here. It's time to actually leave Claude do its magic again. So I've just given Claude a few minutes to actually come up with the design and I'm quite impressed with what it's come back with. Now, it gives you a HTML version of it and it also gives you a PNG if you ask it. So in this case, I just want to pull up the PNG, and if we actually download that, so we can download it as an image, you can kind of look at it a bit closer as well. So in here, you can see, to be honest, it's not too bad. The logo is slightly a bit off. You could definitely make a slight bit of tweaks here as well for sure, but I think it's pretty much nailed the overall look and feel of Represents emails. You can see here the kind of spacing is a little bit off, but of course, with a little bit of reprompting, you can get this to be 100%. So that's actually not too bad. Now, what I will say is what you can do, you have a few options from when you have the design. You can take the PNG and then you can slice that up and put it into Klaviyo. The other option is you can actually push this directly into Figma for further editing. So if you set up the Figma and Claude connector, just like we'll do with Klaviyo, you can push this straight to Figma, edit whatever you want, or else you can just reprompt it to make further edits. To be honest with you, the only things I would nearly edit in this is just obviously the logo and probably just spacing down towards the bottom. But to be honest, not a huge amount of editing needed. I think it's pretty solid. Maybe making some CTAs a little bit bigger, but that's probably the only thing I'd add. So pretty solid there. Yeah, pretty solid return. And if you do want to see a full video of me creating an email with Claude, you can click around this video. I'll link the video above. You can check that out. So now at this stage, what we've done is we've created a full campaign calendar with 20 campaigns. We've created copy for the email, and now we've created the design. Now, next, it's time to get on to setting up the Klaviyo and Claude connector so you can start running reports and seeing what's actually going on inside your account without having to sift through your Klaviyo account for hours. So for this section, what we're going to do is we're going to set up the Klaviyo connection. So what you need to do is go to settings, go to connectors, and obviously I've had Klaviyo connected previously. I just disconnected it just so we could actually go through a live example. But if you need to search for it, you can go to browse connectors up here and you'll be able to find it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click connect on Klaviyo, and that's essentially going to prompt us to go through the process. So what we'll do here is just click approve. Then if you're running an agency, you'll probably see a bunch of different client accounts in here. Obviously I just have them blurred just for privacy. If you're a brand, you'll just see your own account in here, obviously. So what you'll just do is you'll select the account that you want to use. And then once you're in here, you'll be able to see all of the information that that Claude has access to inside the Klaviyo account. Now, the one important thing to note is that Claude probably won't be able to view copy, view images, view design. So that's just important to note. It will basically be able to see like all of the data within the account, but it probably can't comment on the exact copy, the exact design structure inside there. So that's just important to note. So what you want to do next is just click allow, and then we'll probably go back into Claude, and then we can start like running some reports on the account. So what we're going to do here is just open up a new chat, and generally the best way I like to use this is when I set up a connector, I generally like to ask Claude, what are the top priorities we should be focusing on in terms of campaigns, in terms of flows, deliverability, and list growth? What Claude is really good for is it can spot issues without you having to spend hours inside the account digging through flows, digging through campaigns and understanding, okay, like, do we have a deliverability issue here? Like, you know, is there an issue here? It will just kind of like search all that stuff, and it makes it just really, really easy to figure this stuff out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to prompt it to actually run a basic report. Using the Klaviyo connector, I want you to run a report on performance over the last 30 days. I want you to outline the top 5 opportunities in the account, and I want you to have a clear focus on campaigns, flows, list growth, and deliverability. Tell me what my main focus should be and in what order of priority. So now that we have this prompt ready, we're just going to leave it do its thing. Okay, so now it's come back with its answer, and obviously I just have to blur out some confidential information here, but you can see it just lists out all of the campaigns, so you can go in here and like analyze trends. Same goes with the flows as well, and then what it's done here is done a 30-day opportunity report. So it's kind of broken down from a campaign level, what's happening with open rates, click rates, what are wholesale campaigns doing, what type of specific content is working well, what isn't working well, and same with flows, same with deliverability as well. Just gives us kind of like a global understanding as to like what our delivery rates are like, what our bounce rates are like, so on and so forth. Then list growth as well. It's saying it's having an issue there with the API, so I'm not really sure what's going on there, but it basically lists out like your top 5 opportunities ranked by priority. What's really important here is you need to always gut check the numbers that Claude is reporting on. Just double check it. Don't take what it says as gospel. That's like super important. For example, in this case, it's saying that we have an issue with conversion tracking, but that's actually not true. There's actually placed order metrics, you know, coming through on that account, so that's super important. But it's come out with some pretty solid stuff here, like rebuilding the 2 cross-sell flows. So like that's obviously something that needs addressing. Obviously campaign click rate overhaul on DTC content send. So that's super, super interesting. Building an SMS cross-sell, list growth audit. Now the list growth audit, to be honest, is mainly because it can't see or had an issue with the API. So you can kind of get the gist here that it's giving you pretty solid, opportunities which you need to kind of exploit. Now what you can do conversely here as well is you can ask it like what has been working well, what should we actually double down on as well. So maybe that's something that we actually asked Claude, and maybe you can tell us. Looking at our campaign performance, tell me what types of campaigns we should double down on, what ones are working well, what should we do more of. So what it's returned with is pretty solid. It's saying like double down on specific types of campaigns for a specific segment. Geo-targeting stuff tends to work well. Urgency offer driven campaigns, and then it's saying like what's underperforming, so certain podcast emails that we send out for this brand, refund offer that we tested out that didn't go as actually planned, and then it's just kind of saying like what to double down on. So like as you can see, this is like super, super valuable, because like if you're just a person, it might take you like hours to figure this stuff out. You'd have to sift through the Klaviyo account, you have to look for what's working, what isn't, and kind of come up with your own, your own thesis, your own judgment, and this is like a super nice way of like kind of expediting that process. Now again, as I said, it's super important that you gut check everything that Claude comes back with, because sometimes it might be missing context. So that's why it's always important to have someone who actually knows what they're doing in the driver's seat. There's absolutely zero point in having someone who has no knowledge of email marketing or e-commerce in this seat, because they won't be able to understand what's right or what's wrong. Now, I will say about 80% of the information that Claude feeds back is actually true, and it's actually like very, very valuable. But there is about 20% of information that, again, is missing some context or needs an expert in the driver's seat to understand that, like, okay, maybe this isn't the best way to go based on the experience that you have. So again, it's super important that the person who's using Claude actually knows what they're doing. So there you have it. That's my process for using Claude for email marketing. Now, if you do want access to the prompts used throughout this video, click the link down below in the description and I'll send it directly to your inbox. And if you do want to learn a bit more about how to implement AI into your current email marketing strategy for your e-commerce brand, click the other link down below in the description to book a free audit with myself. At the very least, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment so you don't miss future videos like this.